That morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the third-floor bridal suite window of the Fairmont estate, a place I had dreamed of for 2 years. Maya, was about to marry the man I thought would be by my side for life. Jason. I opened the closet. What I saw nearly knocked the strength from my legs. The wedding dress I had custom-made in Los Angeles for nearly $8,000, a white silk gown with hand-sewn lace that took 3 months to complete, was crumpled on the floor, shredded like tissue paper. The lace was torn to pieces. The zipper had been yanked loose as if someone had ripped it down with force. And the bodice, where I had the initials of Jason and me embroidered, was cut clean off. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, frozen, my lips stiff, my hands cold. It felt like witnessing a crash, but I was the one crushed inside it. Maya, you need to come downstairs, now. Rachel, my maid of honor, shouted from the hallway. I opened the door, still in my silk robe, and stepped out. Downstairs, chaos greeted me. Guests clustered in small groups, whispering, many looking my way and quickly turning away. My mother, Evelyn, stood in the center, pale, her hand covering her mouth. My father was arguing with a catering staff member in uniform. We got a call at 6 a.m. from the bride's number canceling the entire menu and services, the caterer said, visibly distressed. The kitchen shut down prep right after. That's impossible, I shouted, stepping forward. I didn't call anyone this morning, my phone's still charging on the nightstand. Before I could explain more, Jason walked through the main doors. His face was pale, eyes wide. He held his phone tightly. Beside him stood Ben. His best man. Silent. We need to talk, Jason said, voice shaky. He pulled me aside, away from the crowd, not even looking me in the eye. I've been getting messages all morning. From random numbers. And emails. Screenshots of texts between you and Matt, my ex from college. We hadn't spoken since 2019. Jason showed me his phone, dozens of screenshots, all time-stamped, including photos of me, clearly edited, hugging Matt at some cafe. The texts were scandalous. Once we're married, it'll be just you and me, and I'm only marrying Jason for the money. Jason, none of this is real, I stammered. I want to believe you. His voice trembling. But Chloe showed me. She said she couldn't stay silent anymore. My blood ran cold. Chloe. My sister, the one who hugged me this morning and told me I'd be the most beautiful bride. Now the same person handing this over to Jason? I scanned the crowd, looking for her. She was gone. Rachel ran up, phone in hand. Maya? It's worse. Someone's already posted all the messages and photos on Reddit and your Facebook. They're spreading fast, people are screenshotting and sharing them everywhere. The air around me thickened. The grand estate had become a glass cage, and I was the exhibit everyone was whispering about. Jason pulled his hand away from mine. I need time, he said softly, then turned and walked off. Ben followed. No one offered a word. I stood in place as the world crumbled. My mother approached. Her eyes welled with tears, but her voice was sharp. If there was something you were hiding, you should have told me first. Chloe was just trying to protect the family's name, she meant no harm. I turned to her. You actually believe I did this? She said nothing, just looked down. Then I looked up, saw someone on the second-floor balcony. Light fell across her face, and I recognized Chloe. She watched us, face feigning concern, but in a split second the corner of her mouth curled. A smile. Thin, fleeting, but I saw it. No accident had destroyed my wedding dream. It was planned, calculated, executed to perfection. I swallowed hard. Everyone out, I told Rachel, voice dry. What are you going to do? She asked. I clenched my fists. Start planning, not a wedding. I looked Chloe dead in the eyes. This time, I'm planning a response. 3 days after what people were now calling the runaway bride scandal, I received an email from someone claiming to be Kristen D'Amico, a writer for a blog specializing in elite scandals across Houston. The subject line was blunt. Maya Taylor, runaway bride or professional manipulator? I opened it. The article came with dozens of screenshots of fabricated messages, supposedly leaked exclusively, including one where I allegedly referred to Jason as a walking ATM. The piece accused me of exploiting the marriage for financial gain before crawling back to my ex. Worst of all, it had nearly 2,800 shares in under 24 hours. That same day, my Instagram was flooded with anonymous attacks. Gold digger, he dodged a bullet. Someone like you in a white dress, please. I tried deleting, blocking, reporting, but the comments wouldn't stop. A few small bridal labels I had collaborated with quietly pulled my name from their sites. Meanwhile, Chloe stayed active on social media with the face of a victim. She posted a photo with my mother captioned, "There's nothing more painful than watching your sister destroy your future." Underneath, friends and distant relatives flooded the comments, pushing hashtags like, "Stand with Chloe." I even saw a post from my aunt, who once promised to lend me her heirloom jade bracelet for my wedding, writing, "Family is trust. Until that trust is sold off in some backroom affair." I'd become the modern-day version of a witch hunt. And the one lighting the pyre was the person I used to call my sister. I couldn't even bring myself to enter my favorite midtown coffee shop. 2 days earlier, I'd stepped into Elizabeth's tea room, only for 3 middle-aged women by the window to look up, whisper, and promptly leave. That night, I drove home in the rain. The old Jeep's windshield streaked with water, the wipers failing to keep up, just like my thoughts. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't play music. I let the sound of the rain drown out everything. I sat there for 3 hours. And then, I knew what I had to do. Not revenge. Recovery. On the 10th day after my wrecked wedding, I knocked on the apartment door of Lena, my college best friend from design school in Austin, now an independent event planner. She opened the door and saw me standing there with a folder and eyes too dry to cry anymore. All she said was, "Come in. If you're still standing, you're still fighting." I told her my idea to build a wedding planning service specializing in crisis control, dealing with everything from runaway brides to ruined dresses, blackouts, and sabotage from family members. I wanted to turn my worst day into a blueprint for saving others from theirs. Lena leaned back on the couch. "Sounds like a Netflix script, but honestly, you might be onto something. What do we call it?" I looked at her. "After the Aisle." She burst out laughing. "That sounds like a revenge series." "It's not revenge, it's protection." I began by scrubbing my digital footprint clean, then launched a YouTube channel sharing worst wedding day disasters and how to prevent them, using editing skills I picked up freelancing for small brands. Within 3 weeks, a video titled, "Bride Loses Dress 3 Hours Before Ceremony, Here's How We Saved the Day," hit nearly 18,000 views. I emailed every vendor I'd ever worked with, florists, gown makers, photographers. No replies for the first week, but in the second, one called back. Then another. Eventually, I was hired to coordinate a backyard wedding in Katy, Texas, just 80 guests. But I prepped like it was the Super Bowl. On the big day, the bride looked at me and said, "I read your story. I trust you because you've lived through it." I didn't smile, but deep down, I knew. Chloe couldn't erase me. She only made me stronger. A month later, I stumbled across my mother's Facebook post. Chloe trying on a wedding gown, the caption reading, "Hoping everything goes smoothly this time." Chloe was getting married. No word to me. No invite. No apology. I looked at the post. Not angry. Not sad. Just one thought. The game is still on. I put down my coffee, opened my laptop and typed the next headline. A crisis strategy. Exposing orchestrated scandals. Step 1. Eliminate. Chloe wanted the spotlight? Fine. Let's see how her mask holds up in full light. 3 months after I lost everything, my fiancé, my reputation, and my faith in blood ties, I officially launched After the Aisle, Houston's first wedding crisis management service. No one wants to call a wedding planner in the middle of chaos, but when the bride's gown turns pink from a dry cleaning error 2 days before the ceremony, or when the venue's power cuts out in mid-July heat, they call me. My first client came through an unexpected referral. Bridget Morgan, once Chloe's high school best friend, now a music teacher preparing to marry her longtime partner. She showed up at my tiny office on a Friday afternoon with torrential rain pouring outside. I was taping logos on a presentation board when the doorbell rang insistently. "Hi," Bridget said, clutching a navy new umbrella. "I heard you're the one whose sister destroyed her wedding and still started a business from it. I need someone with nerves like that." I held my face steady. Call it nerves of steel. Or maybe just someone who's no longer afraid of humiliation. She sat down, pulling out her planning folder. "You're my last hope. Every other planner turned me down after learning my aunt is a control freak who ruined my cousin's engagement." I smiled faintly. "Then, I'm your person. I don't coordinate fairy tales. I run weddings in war zones." 2 weeks later, Bridget's ceremony took place at a converted farmhouse in Pearland. When thunderclouds rolled in just before showtime, I got a tent vendor on site in 15 minutes. When the MC got into a fender bender on the way there, I handed the best man an iPad and drafted a new script in the restroom trailer. Bridget squeezed my hand as I walked her down the aisle. "No one knows what's happening backstage. But I do." I gave her hand a small squeeze back. "Because I know exactly how it feels to lose control of what's supposed to be the best day of your life." 3 days later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number at 9:40 a.m. "I don't expect you to answer," came a low, slightly raspy voice. "But I need to talk. It's Jason." I paused. "I still recognize your voice." He sighed. "I know I messed up. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just need you to know. I looked into it. Everything Chloe gave me was fake. A friend at a cybersecurity firm analyzed the metadata. The texts, the photos, every single one was altered. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even shaken. There was a quiet stillness inside me, the kind that comes after a long burn finally cools. "Why are you calling me now?" I asked calmly. "Because I need to be honest. I didn't have the guts to stand with you when you needed me. I believed someone else, because it was easier than facing the fracture in your family. I chose safety." "You didn't just choose safety," I replied slowly. "You chose to run." He didn't argue. "I miss you. Do you miss the woman who used to love you? Or the image of the woman you lost because you were too afraid to believe her?" There was a long silence on the line. I sat behind my desk, fingers resting lightly on the planning sheet for my second client. After the Aisle had just booked another wedding, this one in New Orleans, with a groom's mother who'd been divorced 3 times and threatened to bring her new boyfriend to crash the reception. Jason exhaled. "You're right. I don't deserve you." "No," I said. "You don't deserve the me I am now." Before he hung up, he said one last thing. "If you ever need someone to back you publicly, to tell the truth, I'm here. I'll testify. I won't be silent again." I didn't reply, but deep inside I knew. Jason had made the wrong choice once. At least he wasn't going to live in denial forever. I ended the call. Outside, there was no rain, no sun. Just Houston's proud, moody gray sky. Lena walked in holding 2 hot coffees. "Client number 3 just messaged. She needs a plan in case her future mother-in-law swaps her wedding dress for a pink gown." I took the cup and sipped. "Perfect," I said. Pink's not the most dangerous color. Sometimes, white is the cruelest one of all. One late November morning, just after leaving a meeting with a new client couple, I got a text from my mother. Just one line. Chloe's engaged, and she wants you to be her maid of honor. I froze in the middle of the Sugarland Mall parking lot, gripping my phone until my nails dug into my palm. The next message followed quickly. This time, a photo. Chloe holding a champagne glass, a diamond ring flashing like a spotlight fueled by lies. The same person who tore my wedding to shreds was now asking me to stand beside her in satin. I didn't respond right away. I sat in my car for nearly 2 hours, staring at the steering wheel. My mind ran through every reaction, from tossing the invitation into the trash to sending back a hex stitched into silk. But eventually, a colder thought settled in. Chloe was so confident she thought I wouldn't dare strike back. She was wrong. That afternoon, I messaged 3 people: Lena, Bridget, and Jason. I'll be her maid of honor, and we're going to make sure Chloe's wedding is unforgettable. 3 days later, I attended the engagement party in the glass house at Hotel Lemieux. Chloe wore a champagne satin dress and beamed as if she hadn't slashed my wedding gown just 3 months earlier. The man beside her, Adam Winters, an architect 35, was no stranger. I recognized him from a photo Mara Delgado sent me after my YouTube video went viral. 5 signs your wedding is being sabotaged from within. Mara had dated Adam for 3 years. In her email, she wrote, "Chloe stole my boyfriend the same week my dad died. She pretended to console me and then vanished with the man I loved. And now Chloe wanted me to wear a dress and smile at her side." I gripped my lemonade harder. Not from jealousy. From the sharp realization that Chloe had a pattern she struck when others were most vulnerable. A few days later, I met Jason at a cafe off Westheimer. He looked different, thinner, more solemn. The arrogance he once wore like cologne was gone. He slid his laptop across the table. On the screen was a chat log between Chloe and someone named Marcus Leach. He was a classmate of hers, Jason explained. Graphic designer. She hired him to forge the screenshots. He kept the emails and files because she never finished paying him. I skimmed the folder. Dozens of expertly doctored photos, manipulated timestamps, fake text threads. Each file a blade aimed back at its maker. "Can you get Marcus to testify?" I asked. "I already did. As long as his identity stays confidential, he's willing to turn over everything." I nodded. This time, I wasn't alone. Lena built a timeline cross-referencing Chloe's leaked evidence with my phone data, GPS logs and home Wi-Fi records. Bridget tracked down a former employee of Chloe's short-midget event company. A woman owed 3 months of back pay. I called Mara. She agreed to speak up. "Just promise me one thing," Mara said over the phone. "That when she walks down that aisle, everyone will know who's real and who's fake." "I'm not promising to ruin her wedding," I replied. "I'm promising to let the truth do what it needs to." The next day, Chloe texted me. "I hope you won't drag the past into my wedding. I've already forgiven you." I scoffed. "Forgiven me? Or terrified of the truth?" I replied. "Don't worry, you want a wedding to remember, right? I'll help." As I hit send, a new notification popped up on my laptop. Audio file complete, uploaded to private drive. An audio file? It was a phone call from 3 days ago. Between Chloe and someone named Trent. Her voice was crystal clear. "Don't let her ruin this wedding like last time." I shut her down once. I just need to keep her quiet now. I closed my eyes. In that moment, every piece fell into place. Chloe hadn't destroyed me out of envy. She did it out of obsession. An addiction to absolute control. And I would end the cycle of victims she's left behind. Right there, at her perfect little wedding. 3 months of silence. 3 months of planning. And now, with my voice steady and my truth laid bare for all to see, I stood at the center of Chloe's wedding, not as her maid of honor, but as the reckoning she never saw coming. Her designer gown shimmered under the chandeliers. The orchids she had flown in from Singapore still perfumed the air. But the illusion of perfection had shattered. Every guest in the Reverie ballroom, lawyers, architects, executives, even a former state senator, had just watched the truth unravel on a 30-foot LED screen. They saw Marcus Leach, the graphic designer she hired to fake the texts that destroyed my wedding. They heard Chloe's voice, in her own words, admit to stealing $160,000 from Adam's firm, under the guise of learning finance. They watched Mara Delgado, the woman Chloe had betrayed years ago, hold up the transfer receipts. And then they saw me, the sister Chloe thought she could erase. Chloe tried to speak, tried to frame it all as jealousy, as fiction. But it was too late. When she lunged for the microphone, two discreetly placed security guards stepped forward. Jason had arranged it all ahead of time. Phones lit up like a wave of exposure. Whispers turned into gasps. And Adam? Adam didn't say a word. He simply walked out. My mother cried quietly in the front row, her head bowed, hands trembling. I couldn't read her expression. Grief, guilt, shame. Maybe all of it. And I? I stood tall, microphone in hand, voice calm. This isn't the end of a wedding, I said, eyes scanning the stunned room. This is the end of a lie. The stage lights were still on, the ballroom hung in suffocating silence. Intricate flower arrangements, white satin ribbons, cascading from the ceiling, and chairs dressed like porcelain dolls, all of it now served as backdrop to a wedding that had become a public unmasking. I stepped down slowly from the stage, leaving behind the massive screen still playing Chloe's recorded confession. How she siphoned company funds and orchestrated the collapse of my wedding last year. No more whispers, no more fake smiles. Just stunned faces, some wide-eyed in shock, others quietly satisfied. Chloe stood frozen in the aisle, her Vera Wang gown suddenly looking like a molted shell. She wobbled on 10-inch heels, but the weight of the truth crashing down was far heavier than her body could carry. Adam stood up, his hands trembled but his voice didn't. You lied to me. To my family. I believed in the life we said we'd build. But it was built on theft and manipulation. Adam, it's not what you think. Chloe reached for him but he stepped back. I checked the accounts this morning, he said, voice hoarse. When Maya sent that email, I thought she was trying to smear you, but now I can't unsee the truth. Chloe spun toward me, her voice cutting like glass. What more do you want? You want to destroy everything I have? I stayed still, raised the mic calmly. I didn't destroy you, I just put the truth where it belongs. That was when two hotel security guards appeared from the side doors. One tall man, one black woman, both moving with quiet authority. Jason stood behind them, nodding. Everything was in place. We're required to ask you to leave the premises, the female guard said clearly, not angry, just resolute. Ms. Chloe Taylor, this action follows requests from the event's contracted party and legal representatives. No, this is my wedding! Chloe screamed, her voice unraveling. I paid for this. I'm the bride. I looked straight into her eyes. A bride isn't someone who wears white. A bride doesn't need to destroy others to shine. Chloe fought as they approached, but when one of the guards showed her the temporary cease notice issued by the venue's legal team, citing criminal and financial concerns, she collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. My mother stood up, she walked to me, then turned toward Chloe. She said nothing at first, only placed a hand over her heart. The same heart that had once loved blindly, now finally forced to see. You lied to all of us, she said quietly but clearly. I didn't believe Maya. That was my mistake. But from this moment on, I can't pretend anymore. Chloe screamed, everyone's turning on me, is there anyone left? No one answered. I approached slowly. I bent down and looked her in the face. Makeup smudged, eyes swollen, mask shattered. I used to think you were just jealous, that I should bend because you were family. But no, Chloe. You don't need anyone to unmask you. You tore it off yourself. Adam came forward. He removed his wedding band and laid it on the altar. This ends here. The reception was over, guests left in quiet clusters. A few filmed everything, but most were too stunned to share it online. I overheard an older woman whisper to her friend, "This is the first wedding I'll never forget." But for all the wrong reasons. Backstage, Lena sat on a couch, sipping orange juice. Video timing ran flawlessly, not a second off. "Good," I said, peeling the mic tape from under my collar. Marcus walked in and handed me a signed legal cooperation agreement. "I sent everything to the firm. She'll face charges for corporate embezzlement." "And her reputation?" I asked. He shrugged. "She traded it for the spotlight, but the brighter the light, the longer the shadow." Driving home, I turned on the radio. A classical symphony played. Cool air slipped in through the window. Late afternoon sunlight brushed across my hand. Still slightly shaking. Not from fear, but because everything had finally ended. My phone buzzed, a message from Mom. "Dinner? I made spaghetti. No pressure to talk, just come." I didn't answer right away. I pulled over, stared at the screen. Then typed slowly, "I'll come, but this time, not wearing a mask." And I hit send. 4 months after Chloe's wedding collapsed, the name Maya Taylor appeared on the cover of Bridal Executive Weekly, under the headline, "The Woman Redefining Wedding Planning." They called me the crisis whisperer, the one who could turn matrimonial disasters into milestones of rebirth. But all I thought was, I survived. And I refused to let the fall be for nothing. After the aisle was booming, we opened a second branch in Austin and were in talks to expand to Scottsdale. I hired 3 new assistants. Each one had been through storms of their own and could spot disaster before it struck. One afternoon during an internal meeting, Lena handed me a plain envelope. It came by mail, no sender, but, "You should open it." Inside was a silver bracelet, old but still shining. The same one my mother once wore. The same one Chloe and I used to fight over as kids. Tucked with it was a folded note. "Maya, my therapist said I should start by returning what doesn't belong to me. I know I went too far. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope you understand. There are nights I can't sleep, haunted by the image of you, standing alone in a shredded dress. I used to think if I wasn't the center, I didn't exist. Now I'm learning how to step aside. I'm trying. Chloe." I read that last line over and over, trying to hear if the voice behind it was real or another performance. But this time, there was no manipulation, no script, just the raw, unpolished truth of someone learning, finally, how not to be the son. That night, I sat in the kitchen of my new midtown loft, my own place, bought with money from our biggest project yet, a full-scale wedding revival at St. Jude's Church. My mother arrived carrying homemade lasagna and a bottle of bargain Cabernet from Costco. "You once said you'd only drink Cabernet when life felt truly stable," she said, setting it down. "I'm guessing tonight's the night." I looked at her. In the warm yellow light, she didn't look like the harsh woman from my past. No makeup, no stiff pearls. Just her eyes. Seeing me. Not through Chloe this time, but directly. "I'm sorry," she said, voice tight. "I used to believe image was everything. I chose to preserve the wrong thing." I didn't answer immediately. I poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to her. "I don't need you to apologize," I said softly. "I just need you not to look away anymore." She nodded. No tears, no defenses. Just her hand resting gently over mine. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, after wrapping a workshop for brides, titled "Managing Family Landmines on Your Big Day," I found Jason standing at my office door. Navy sweater, tousled hair, a cup of espresso and vanilla in his hand. "I didn't make an appointment," he said, "but I need 10 minutes." I gestured for him to sit. "We've said enough, Jason." "That time?" he said, placing the cup down. "I came to apologize. Today, I'm here to ask something else." He pulled a small dark green box from his pocket. "No brand, no fuss. I don't know if I deserve you, but I know I don't want to lose you again. No white dress, no guests, just you, in a quiet room, saying you're ready to start over. With a man who once failed, but is learning to love like an adult." I opened the box, a simple, white gold ring engraved inside. Not for the spotlight, for the truth. I looked at him. I remembered it all, the betrayal, the silence, and the strength it took for him to come back. Not to rewrite the past, but to protect the present. I didn't say yes immediately. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened a message from my mother, sent 2 days earlier. "Group therapy this Sunday. You don't have to come, but if you're ready, your seat is waiting." I turned back to Jason. "Small condition," I said. "Anything. We go to that session. Not to forgive, to begin." He nodded. I slipped on the ring. The coffee had gone cold, but something inside me had warmed. Not from rage this time, but from trust. Because justice had been served. And forgiveness? Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about refusing to let the past hold anyone hostage ever again. That Sunday morning, Houston drizzled, not enough to call it real rain, but just enough to make me stop the car in the Bay Point Wellness parking lot, stare through the streaked windshield, and quietly wonder why I was here. Jason held my hand. Not tightly, but he didn't let go. I had accepted his proposal. Not like a fairy tale, not with a grand party and hundreds of eyes watching. Just a quiet nod between two people who had broken, and then learned to live, without stepping on anyone else, to survive. I entered the therapy room with a slow heartbeat, not because I was calm, but because I no longer felt the need to prove anything. Beige walls, gray cloth chairs, a round table with tissues, and a clock without ticking hands. The therapist, Mrs. Miriam Coyle, was in her 60s, hair salt and pepper, gaze soft and non-invasive. My mother was already there, fingers laced tightly. She wore a white shirt and khakis, no makeup. The first time I'd seen her show up to a confrontation without hiding behind perfection. Chloe arrived 5 minutes late. An oversized sweater, no makeup, slight shadows under her eyes. I couldn't tell if it was from crying or insomnia. But for the first time, she looked like someone trying to live, not perform. Silence. Then Mrs. Coyle's voice, like a thread through fog. "Thank you all for coming. Not to resolve everything today, but to begin." I looked at my mother. She met my gaze and didn't flinch. "You can start," she said. "If you want to." I nodded, inhaled. "I used to think," I began slowly, "that family was something you couldn't choose. But the truth is, you can choose boundaries. And when someone crosses them, walking away isn't betrayal. It's survival." Chloe lowered her eyes. I didn't look at her. "Mom didn't believe me," I continued. "But I'm not here for an apology. I'm here because if anyone still wants to rebuild something, then I'll listen." "What?" My mother nodded, wiping her eyes. Then Chloe spoke. Soft, but clear. "Maya, I'm not here to explain myself. I know words aren't enough, but if you need 5 more years before we can talk again, I'll wait." I looked at her. Not with hatred, not even trust. Just acknowledgement. She was trying. And I no longer carried the weight of being the only one trying to hold a crumbling family together. "We can't go back," I said, holding her gaze. "But if we move forward, it has to be as equals. No one stands above the other. No one gets to use someone's pain and hide behind the words, 'we're family.' The room stayed silent. And I didn't need anyone to confirm I was right. I had only needed to know we weren't silent out of fear anymore. That night, Jason and I walked through Herman Park. No flowers, no grand gestures. Just two people beneath a cold Texas sky, walking hand in hand, quietly. He asked, "Do you think the family will really change?" I answered without hesitation, "I don't know. But I know I won't let myself relive the wound." A breeze passed. I held his hand tighter. Not from fear, but because I'd chosen to walk beside someone who didn't push, didn't pull, didn't crowd. The next morning I got to the office early. A small box sat on my desk. No name. Inside was a photo, Chloe and me around 10 years old, fighting over a silver bracelet but laughing uncontrollably. Attached was a note. "I held on to this too long. I should have given it back the day everything started to break, but late is better than never." I held the photo. Didn't cry. Didn't collapse. Just felt something calm settle in my chest. At the bottom was another slip of paper. "Next week's therapy group. Mom saved you a seat, you don't have to come. But if you do, know this. Someone will be waiting. M." I tucked the note into a drawer, looked out the window. Not all wounds need to be wrapped in forgiveness, some are better left open. As a reminder, you made it through. And if anyone asks whether I forgave her, I'll say, I didn't forgive to ease someone else's guilt. I forgave so I could finally live. Maya's story is a powerful reminder that justice and forgiveness don't cancel each other out. They can coexist when we dare to face the truth. From a betrayed bride left at the altar by her own sister. Maya didn't collapse. She rebuilt her career, her dignity, and her sense of self. In real life, anyone can fall victim to family manipulation, but how we respond, with courage, preparation, and self-respect, defines who we become when the world falls apart. What do you think about Maya's choices? Would you have the strength to face and rise like she did? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family, resilience, and redemption.